Hi, Jenna.
Well, hi, Shelby.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back to Miss Willa's Book Club podcast.
We've been very excited to do this one. It's been a long time coming. We both reread it.
Yes. Yeah, we waited a little while after we read Iron Flame the first time before we came back to do a podcast episode. At first, it was just to give people time to read it.
Right.
And then we just got sucked into all that is the SJM universe. So.
Exactly. It was like right around that time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So now we're coming back and I'm finally doing
Iron Flame.
Iron Flame. Yep. So it'll be good. It's going to be a fun couple episodes, I think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. We've got
it's going to be quite a few.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us what the structure is going to look like?
Yeah, so just like with Crescent City, there is so much going on in this book, and I feel like there was a lot going on in Fourth Wing that I felt like I was so lost on, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
That I feel like it would be really good to do like kind of a deep dive, especially just on the first half, because as we were kind of talking earlier.
Yes. We were trying to talk through just even the like squad section wing structure and like who were the leaders of each. And it probably took us 20 minutes to even try and remember who fills in each of them. So
yeah.
we're gonna cover that with you guys so that hopefully it can be a good refresher for you to remember who everybody is and how they fit into the squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like what people's signets are, whose dragon is bonded to who.
Yeah.
Like kind of just like a gist of what the heck is even going on in this world.
Yeah. Well, especially because I kind of wonder if going into the next books, if the other dragons are going to start to be a little bit more important. So I think that that's going to end up being like a kind of key piece to not even just know the people, but also like who's with them.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep. I completely agree with them because like there are so many things happening in this book that it's like if you don't have that baseline, which I think is why it was difficult to come into this book and why people were like, what the heck is going on? is because there was just so much going on.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of places, a lot of people. The map is great though. I mean, I do think that really helps, but the picture, like in the beginning of the book, about the structure, I think is good.
I think so too.
But I mean, to your point, we were even just trying to remember if first years were in the same squad as the other years.
I know. It was
some
like,
basic questions. So yeah, we'll get there.
So here we are finally back on Iron Flame.
Yep. And
before we get into a couple other things we're going to talk about, what did you rate it on the second read?
I still gave it 5 stars. I was a little bit nervous, when it first came out. I think there were some people who loved Iron Flame. There were some people who absolutely hated it. Even ones that loved Fourth Wing and came to Iron Flame and really weren't happy with it. And so I was a little nervous that all of those other opinions were going to impact my read on the second round. But some of the things that irked me the first time actually didn't bother me as much the second time.
Okay.
So yeah, I still gave it 5 stars and I might have liked it better the second time.
I love it. And you know, I think I feel the exact same way.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think I liked it better on the second round than I did on the first round. And I got a little bit distracted when we were talking about the structure of the episodes because I totally forgot to say, this is just going to be the first part. So this book is in 2 parts, and so this is going to be part 1, which might be a couple of episodes, and then we'll do part 2 after that.
Yep.
And so I have basically like re-gone through all of part 1 so that it's fresh, and I even listened to the audiobook.
Nice.
And I gotta say, I don't think it was my favorite audiobook.
I think I've heard that Taryn's voice is a little bit odd.
It's a little bit odd.
Yeah.
She just tries to do Taryn's voice and Zayden's voice. And I think one of my biggest gripes with it is that I picture Violet as just like this cute little thing. And so I would think she would have a higher voice, but the narrator doesn't. And so it's just like not who I picture. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's part of why I mean, besides that I'm just not good at taking in information through only listening, but that's part of why I don't like audiobooks very much, because I never feel like the voices line up with what they sound like in my head. And then I don't know. I don't want to say ruins the experience for me, but it definitely deters me from enjoying media in that sense.
Exactly.
So I kind of always end up reading it instead, but that's too bad to hear that maybe not the best audiobook.
It was a little bummer, but it was nice because I felt like I was like constantly taking it in, even if I wasn't like like sitting with the book, you know? So that was nice. But yeah, I think I've liked it better the second time around.
Good. Oh, that's good too. That makes me happy that other people's opinions didn't influence our experience.
Let's talk about when this book came out.
Well, oh my gosh, yeah. When Iron Flame came out, it was such a mess. Like, not only was it, well, okay, first let's talk about the printing.
Oh my gosh.
So, I remember seeing from so many people who had ordered it like on Amazon or online really early, and then all of a sudden, as it got closer to the release, I think they kind of realized that they didn't have as many copies available of the like, so the first edition had the sprayed edges and
like the all black.
Yeah, the all black. And I think that threw some people for a loop and got people all stressed out before the book even came out. And then when it came out, there was like, 4 or 5 different print versions just from different like print houses. And like one of them was missing the dragon header on one of them, and like I don't know, one of them had some typos in it.
People were missing entire pages. It was like at the end of the book, it was like they were missing like 50 pages or something.
What?
Yes, it was like a lot. It was
I missed those. The ones I saw were like funny little ones, like chapter 17 missing the dragons on the top, so and funny. Something silly like that.
The Iron Flame like being wrong and like being upside down in the front.
Well, and I saw some of them were printed with fourth wing on the spine instead of Iron Flame, even though it was the right book. So funny.
That is so funny. It was such a mess.
It was a mess.
But you want to know what I think it brought back too? This was the first book that I've seen since like, gosh, I think Twilight era, where people were going to midnight releases.
Harry Potter, man.
Was it Harry Potter?
Oh, that was Harry Potter. I
went to Twilight.
Did they have midnight premieres?
Yeah. I went to them.
Oh, no, of the movies, you mean?
Yeah, and the books.
Did they?
I did, yeah. But I was a Twilight girly.
I mean, I definitely read Twilight. Also, I guess I just didn't remember there being... Maybe I didn't do midnight... I didn't even know they had those. I did go to every midnight release, probably starting, I think, with... Goblet of Fire for Harry Potter.
For the movies or for
the books?
Oh,
yeah.
So
my mom would take me to the midnight release, and then I would stay up literally the entire night on all through the next day and finish it all like within 24 hours. It was obsessive.
Oh my gosh,
I loved those books when I was a kid. Yeah. And I was pretty young too when they came out. So
yeah, we had to have been middle school.
Yeah. I might have even been in elementary school. But when I was definitely in elementary school when I started reading them. I don't remember when they all came out, but yeah, so I definitely remember this was like the whole midnight release and dressing up for it and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. And then I know that people just did that for the third Crescent City too. And so I think it's coming back as a thing, which I just think is so awesome.
Yeah, it does feel nostalgic.
It really does. And I feel like reading in general is just becoming more of a big thing.
It is. I feel like reading is having a real resurgence as a hobby, which is super cool.
So cool.
Because I think for a while, it was kind of a not cool thing to do.
It was like a nerdy thing.
Not that it mattered. I was going to enjoy it anyways, but it is really fun to see like more friends or like more acquaintances that are trying to get into reading now or are really enjoying that again, and even reading like physical books again.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's been fun.
It's been really fun.
And that fantasy is coming back again too.
Right.
You know?
Because as we know, like ACOTAR got us really both back into reading, but I feel like when this came out and I think both of us read Fourth Wing in like literally 24 hours. And that was one of them where I was just like, I was so engulfed in the book that I just like couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And I think it was since ACOTAR that I felt that way. And so Fourth Wing just like holds this really special place in my heart. Also because I have a very pretty copy from my bestie.
It was a special one.
It was a very special one. So I'm excited because this definitely like people were worried that this was going to have like second book syndrome, which
Did you think it had second book syndrome?
A little bit. Like it was a lot of information. And did you know that Crescent City 1 has like 200,000 words? This has 257,000 words?
Yeah, it's longer.
50,000 words longer.
I don't think that Iron Flame had second book syndrome, but I do think it could have been 2 books. Yes. I think that she could have split part 1 of like everything up until leaving Basgiath.
Yes.
And then part 2, everything after, as like 2 separate books with releases kind of close to each other.
Yeah.
Which honestly, from a business perspective, I'm kind of surprised she didn't.
I know.
She probably could have charged the same amount.
I know.
And then got 2 books out of it, you know? Like, I'm glad, you know, we wanted the content, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think that could have been good too. I don't know.
What did you think about the second book coming out less than 6 months after the first one came out?
I thought that was really impressive. I think she must have already been really well into the second book, like writing it before the first book even came out, is my guess.
It had to be, because it was so soon. I felt like when we first got the book, it was like really big on TikTok, but then it had a little bit of a lull. And then as soon as Iron Flame came out, I felt like I started seeing it everywhere again. And I'm just wondering, like, do we know when the third one is coming out? Has there been a release date for it?
There had been a date in December 2024 on Goodreads, but it got pulled. So I don't know if it's changing or not. Yeah, but I had been on there for a little while as December this year. But I also think I saw some stuff, maybe from interviews with her or whatever, that I think she was kind of trying to chill out a little bit and like not put too much pressure to just like crank it out really fast, because she wants it to be like done right.
Yeah, which is good, because people had a lot to say about this book.
Yeah, which honestly, fuck them. Fuck the haters. Sorry.
Excuse my language. I've loved it. I thought it was so good. On another spoiler-free note, we had a really, really awesome package come in very recently, and it's from Deep Soul Candles. And we got these candles sent to us. Hopefully the YouTube can see how pretty they are. So we got, they're candles that are based off of books. And so it's really cool. We have Violet and Zayden. And Violet's notes for the candle are courageous, intelligent, and resilient, with notes of violence, moonflower, dark musk, rose, amber, and cherry blossom. This is like a super pretty light scent. And then we have Zayden, which originally I said it smells like leather, like his flying leathers. But then we started to feel differently about it as we kept smelling it. So you guys will just have to get it and see for yourself.
Yeah.
But the notes that says that it is seductive, mysterious, and dangerous, with notes of smoke and shadows, riding leathers, lavender, and sage.
Oh, that's probably why it smelled different to me, because I'm allergic to lavender.
Oh my God. And I even know that, and I'm really good at that one.
That's okay.
So I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. And
you're like, that's not good.
If you're just listening and not watching Deep Soul Candles, it's pretty cool too. They have like fan art on the front of the candles, really, and they're pretty hefty. They're big candles too.
They are big candles, and it's so cool because they're just like so thoughtful, and she does such a good job of making sure they're like environmentally friendly, and they're safe. And who doesn't want candles that are based off of books?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sending us those. We are just so appreciative of them.
Yes. The perfect touch to add to our Iron Flame episode, just to have a little inspiration from our 2 favorite characters.
Exactly. It is just so awesome. So yes, thank you so much. And on that note, let's get in some Iron Flame.
Woo!
Ooh. As a reminder, since we have both read the full book twice, there are going to be spoilers for the entire book. So although we might be covering the first half of the book, we are definitely still going to be talking about things for the end of the book. And if you haven't read the entire thing, read it, come back, listen to this episode.
Yes. So with that, let's take it away.
Let's do it. I think the first thing that we need to do, let's talk about some characters. And I think that the way that we decided we're going to go about this is we're going to try to describe how the sections look, because this is a little confusing. So you start out and you've got like this entire university of people, and they are split into 3 sections.
They're split into 4 wings. So we've got We've got 4 wings, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty much everybody we talk about is in 4th wing, hence the name of the first book. So then within just 4th wing, we have 3 sections. So there's the claw section, flame, and tail. So I kind of think of it as like 3 parts of the dragon, right? And then of each of those sections, so like if we're looking at just flame section,
right,
then there's 3 squads.
Yep. So you have a section leader, an executive officer, and then you have squad 1, squad 2, squad 3.
Yep.
And so for our girl Violet, she is in 4th Wing Flame Section Squad 2.
Yes, second squad.
Second squad.
And they're the Iron Squad because they lost the fewest first years.
Which, if you actually sit back and think about it, isn't that fucked up?
I know, right? That's kind of sad.
I forgot how many people die.
Everybody dies. Yeah.
I was just like, holy shit, whiplash.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for sure as we get into stuff. But yeah, so now if we're looking at just Violet's squad, so squad 2, that's kind of like all of her closest friends, right? And so that's within her squad is Riddick, Imogen, Sawyer, Quinn, Sloane,
Rihanna,
who would be new. And then Rhiannon, Rhiannon is like the second squad leader, right? And so, and then she has Sawyer as like her executive officer, so like one below her, but they're leading just their squad.
Just their squad.
Yep. And then within the section, Bodhi, who's
Zayden's cousin.
Yeah. Cousin. Sure.
Cousin.
His cousin is the section leader, and then Dane has graduated from being a section leader to a wing leader now because Aiden is gone. So now Dane is the 4th wing leader.
Yes. Have you seen Fantasy Fangirls on TikTok?
Oh, I've seen some of their videos, I think, yeah.
They are so funny. They pop up on my TikTok because I love everything 4th Wing. And they always say, God fucking damn it, Dane. And now every time I hear Dane, I think, God fucking damn it, Dane.
Oh, that's funny. That's super funny.
It just cracks me up.
Nice.
Oh, so yeah, that's basically who we've got like in her squad. And
so that's her core team. Yeah. Her best friends.
Her best friends. Well, and then they do say
for part 1.
Right. Right. Because I mean, when I was going through this, I felt like Riddick and Sawyer were the same people. Kind of. Like I could not separate them for some reason. And then I was just getting really confused because I feel like characters were just like thrown in 4th Wing, and then we didn't learn all that much about him, and then here we are just like we're continuously just learning like a little bit more. But I guess like they are 20, so if we're going like from Violet's point of view, like she does have like an immature point of view, which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit, but yeah. Something else that I think was really important to go through was the professors that we have. And so we first have Professor Carr, and he helps cadets learn how to nurture their signets. And so he's the one that is like trying to teach Violet what to do, but
he's the one who punishes her with the lightning, or has to help with the punishing of the lightning too, like per Varish's direction, right? Yeah.
Fuck Varish. But yes. And then we have Professor DeVera. She teaches Battle Brief. She has short hair and a black brow. She has a new scar along her biceps. And there are just many cues that seem that maybe she knows more.
Like knows more, but is kind of on their side.
Right.
Like on the, what they don't call them the rebellion. What do they call it now this time?
Oh.
I don't know. The revolution.
The revolution. Is that what it is?
I don't know. But basically the rebellion part 2, that it kind of seems like she might be on their side.
Actually, I think you're right. I think they do call it a revolution because in the very beginning, Brennan calls it a revolution. Yep. And Violet goes, "You think you're going to win this?"
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah, because they specifically say a different word. But I remember that had also been pointed out to me because DeVera is the one who says that like there's a cost for everything when they're talking about unification. And she's the only one of the teachers that really is like, hey, yeah, cool that we're all on the same side, but guess what? We lost culture, we lost like music, we lost like all of these other things that go along with it too. Language, people lost their identity through that. So that was her that brought that up, which is why we're like, she's probably on our side.
Yep. And then she also helps Violet towards the end of the first half. And then next we have Professor Emeterio. He's essentially like the PE teacher who oversees the physical training of all the cadets.
I love calling it the PE teacher.
I know,
that's so true.
Oh my gosh. And then we have Professor Kaori. He teaches the cadets about dragons. Professor Markham is the curator of the Writer's Quadrant, and he also teaches Battle Brief with Professor DeVera. And he was also basically like Violet's mentor growing up with like the Scribe Quadrant. And so Violet had seen him like as this like really great person and really wanted to look up to him. But then we start to see that maybe we shouldn't look up to him. And then new this year, we have Professor Grady, who teaches RSC, which is the Writer Survival course, which is the course that most people die in. So those are our professors. And it is, I couldn't keep those straight either when I was like, okay, she's with a professor, they're doing this is what they're supposed to do. But then I was like, oh, but then when I originally read it and they went to Erasure and I was like, oh, they're with a professor. Like, who are they with? I was like, I could not keep it straight.
Well, especially then because when they're going back and forth to like Erasure versus being at Basgiath, there are a lot of new players because you like bring in a whole second school basically too.
Exactly. So I was like, good to have this like ground level. And another ground level who our dragons are. I am not going to say Taryn's full name. But we have Taryn. His meaning in Gaelic is Black Morning Star. And he is, of course, bonded to Violet.
Well, that makes sense on the name, I guess, since he is a Black Morning Star dragon.
Right? I know.
I guess I didn't realize that. That's kind of funny.
I do think it's kind of funny, though, because, like, anytime I hear Morning Star, I think of Lucifer.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh.
And so there's only 2 black dragons, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But Taryn did say in the beginning of this one that more have hatched in the last year.
I have some notes about that too.
I'm excited to talk about the dragons like more in depth in a little bit. So then we have our girl Andarna. Her name in Gaelic means second honor.
Aww.
Isn't that precious?
That's sweet. And
then, so she is I'm just going to say scorpion tail because we don't exactly know.
Yeah. She changes her look, so.
She does. We have Sigale, who meaning in Gaelic means shadow, and she is a blue dagger tail. She is bonded to Taryn. Well, she is mated to Taryn, and then bonded to Xaden.
And they're pretty new mates.
Yes.
And
are they new mates?
Well, they said that at some point when they're separated and Violet asks Taryn, back up a little bit. There's another pair of bonded dragons at some point that they're like talking with and they can speak over longer distances. And so Violet asks Taryn, like, how long until you and Sigale can talk that far?
Yeah.
Right. And he says something about the fact that I think they must be like somewhat newly mated.
Interesting.
I mean, new in the age of dragons,
I know.
so not like 10 years new. I think it was longer than that. But
interesting.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of to note too.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, because there are so many questions on how old Taryn is, too. So
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So then next we have Marb, who is Brennan's dragon, and the meaning in Gaelic means dead.
Do we even see Marb like at all? And I mean, I know he must be around.
He's an orange dagger tail.
I know they probably mention him being around, but I don't feel like he's significant in this book at all.
Not at all. Yeah. And then we have Aimser, who is bonded to Lilith, the mother, and she's a brown dragon, and her name in Gaelic is Weather, which makes sense, right? That's her signet. Next, we have Aotrum, who is Riddick's dragon, and it means light. Let's see, somebody else that's important is Bade, who is Jack Barlow's dragon, and his meaning in Gaelic is herd, like if you're herding sheep. Yeah, and he's an orange scorpion tail.
Are they both deceased now, though?
Question. I don't know. I
know that the dragon Bade is dead now, right? As of the end of Iron Flame.
I will have to reread the second half again.
Okay, yeah, we can come back to that then. No worries.
And then let's see, other dragons that are important are Rhiannon's dragon is Fairja, and her meaning is anger. She's a green dagger tail. we've got Major Burton Varish. His dragon is soulless. He's an orange dagger tail, and his name means light, which I think is interesting because as we were kind of talking about, that's not his signet.
Yeah.
So, who knows? But he also only has one eye that Tarrant apparently took.
Right.
Yeah, I think those are pretty much...
Those are the biggest ones.
Those are the biggest ones that we have. Yeah.
Well, should we just start talking about like what actually happens here?
Yeah, because we start and they're in Eratia and Violet is just waking up after she's been poisoned.
Oh, yeah. I kind of forgot that it even starts that far back. I guess it really does.
I know, right?
But, you know, she kind of has her moment with Brendan. She pretty quickly goes back to Basgiath, though. Do you have anything to talk about, I guess, before they go back the first time?
No, other than the fact that Violet, like, doesn't really know how to feel because she's like, what the hell? You've been alive this entire time and, like, how did I not know? And you've been lying to us literally for 6 years.
How did you feel about Xaden not telling her that her brother was alive?
So this kind of gets into how I felt about Xaden, kind of this entire maybe this entire book. I understood it, unfortunately. Knowing that he's leading this like revolution, I get that you have secrets. And somebody, I think it was Imogen, even says, you didn't want a regular person, you wanted the leader. And so I didn't actually think that it was that bad that he hid it. I could see. It's like the conundrum, like, do you want to save one person or do you want to save 1,000? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even really blame him because I think it was kind of Brennan's call also. Yeah. And so, I mean, Brennan put Xaden in a bad position, but I would have done the same thing. So I kind of felt like Violet was dumb for being so mad about that for so long.
Yeah. How did you feel about Violet?
Well, and like maybe not even specifically Violet yet, but the will they won't they thing, of like the back and forth. I thought it was way more annoying the first time I read it because I felt like it dragged on forever. But somehow it didn't feel as, I don't know, it wasn't as annoying to me the second time. Maybe just because I know like where it goes after that. But
so you're just like, it is what
it is. It didn't like bother me as much, I think. But especially because, later Xaden talks about like, because at first it's like, oh, you're not asking me the right questions. But then later it's really, you realize it's more like, no, Violet's really avoiding having tough conversations because she just wants to be in La La Land to pretend that everything's fine.
Yes, and she's like, I know I should have asked this, but I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Right, and so then reading it in that context, I was like, okay, whatever.
Like it was a little different.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that Violet is a little bit immature in this one, but I actually think that Xaden is like fairly mature, and in general, their relationship, I think, actually, as much as people were like annoyed, I think about the back and forth, I felt like the way they handled a lot of conflict in this was actually very mature. Yeah.
But then I loved it because when I was first reading this, you brought up a really good point and you were like, from a 20-year-old perspective, this is a pretty spot on relationship.
Yeah. That's the whole point, to get mad at each other over stupid shit.
And because you just want to fight and you want drama and like, that's what you want.
Yeah. But then, and I mean, I even had written this down from one of the things that Xaden says at some moment when like he's visiting, I think it's when he's visiting her in Basgiath one of the times, and they're like having some big fight, and he says, instead of digging a deeper hole with words I'll regret later, I'm gonna take some space and do something productive because this isn't. And I'm like, yes,
preach.
Exactly.
Like that's such a mature response. And the fact that she didn't like snap back at him for it, I was like, thank you.
Yeah. So I liked that about their relationship.
But the thing that I didn't like, and this kind of goes to like Violet and his relationship, but also like her relationship with her friends, because when she comes back from Eratia, she is hiding a lot, which like I couldn't imagine being under that kind of stress, and like there's no way I could hide anything like that from you, so that would be very difficult. But what irritated me was she was like, Xaden, you have to be completely trustworthy with me. You have to tell me everything. If you don't tell me every single little thing, then I'm not giving it up. But she was doing literally the exact same thing to her friends.
I mean, that was a little different though, because her friends also didn't know about like everything that had happened yet.
Right.
And rightfully so, right? It was like for their own safety and everything that they were doing that. And so from her perspective, she's like, hey, you know, the line's been lifted now. Like I saw what's going on. I know what's out there. I've been a part of this. I fought this with you.
Yeah.
I've been to Eurasia. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
Why can't, like, I'm already here. Why can't you tell me the rest of it? Right. So I can see how that's different than saying all of her friends back at school kind of know something happened, but that's it. They don't know any details and they don't know any of that. So her breaking all of the rest of that news to them is so different than like little pieces of things.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Yeah. I think I just saw it so much from Zayden's point of view because kind of like exactly what happened before they even went to Eurasia, where Dane like grabbed a hold of her head and like, I know it wasn't that dramatic, but like he grabbed her face and found out her memories. And so like she still didn't have control over it. And so like from Zayden's point of view, if he's like, well, if God forbid something happens and then Dane gets a hold of your memories, he'll know everything. So like,
I got that. Yeah, definitely.
And so I could see he was like, well, until you ask, I'm not just going to like give you everything, even though I did think the whole like, you have to ask the right questions. She says the exact same thing to Rhiannon before they walked into class at one point, and she's like, oh no, I'm only going to answer like the questions that you ask me directly. And it was like, you just played the exact same shit that Zayden was playing with you.
In general, I felt really bad. Rhiannon was so nice and understanding the whole thing, but you could tell that she was like sad and frustrated. She's like, I know I'm not getting the whole story from you. I know you've got stuff going on. You're clearly bothered. You're doing things that I don't expect you to do.
Right.
Hanging out with somebody that I thought you didn't like. Running every morning, like doing all these things and seeming so upset.
Right.
And not hanging out with them on the weekends and being reclusive and stuff. And so I had so much feeling for Rhiannon as a friend that she stuck it out through all that period and said, I'll wait for you to come to your senses and tell me what's going on. That was just a really good friend thing.
That was a really good friend thing. And I love to see that because she didn't, like, she wanted to know, so she pushed a little bit, but she never pushed her like too much. And I liked that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I also really loved, once we got back to Basgiath, the difference of second year Violet to first year Violet.
Oh, yes.
I thought that was so cool. I was a really big fan of how that played out and having her basically go through the same types of scenarios, watching now other kids cross the parapet and other kids training on the gauntlet and all this stuff, and seeing how differently she just innately reacts to it. And she even reads that in herself sometimes.
Yes.
Like Mira and Brennan's words have become my own. And when she's, you know, giving advice to Sloane, who's crossing the parapet, and she's like, I don't want to learn their names until I know that they get through the threshing, because I just can't do it. I can't handle having all these people I know and know well die. Right. And so I thought that was such an interesting flip of seeing them now all of a sudden be in other position of these people that they didn't get last year. Yeah,
because I remember her saying in Fourth Wing, like, they just seemed so heartless and like, why would you not want to know who I am? And like Zayden had even said it a couple times, like, you mean nothing, like, see you until at threshing.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to see that. The one thing I think kind of bugged me about it was like, she would purposely not like want to know their names, and like, I guess I'm just not in the situation, and so maybe I would feel the same exact way. I'm like trying to keep my distance a little bit. But then when she it was at one point where she like had learned some, and she like loved that she like makes these mental notes in her, and you have it like from her point of view, so it's like, oh, make the mental note, and then she's like, oh shit, I didn't want to know their names.
Right.
But the amount of times that it happened where she would just like purposefully be like, I'm not going to remember it. I'm not going to remember it. Like, the amount of times kind of drove me a little bit nuts, but
I could get it. I mean, you've just got a whole year of watching so many people die. So many people die that you've invested time in, that you had relationships with. And I think she was really still getting over Liam dying in her arms in particular. And so I can see that would, in the same way that you go through a really hard breakup and takes you a minute before you really even want to date again. I could see it as the same thing, right? She invested so much energy in building these really good friends, and then as soon as she cares about them and knows them, then that's when something tragic happens, and she knows that a lot of them are gonna die statistically, right? And so, yeah, I don't know. I think I would probably do the same thing. Try and guard myself as much as I could.
I know,
even if it's a dick move.
Right. And I loved the way that you said that, because I do think she did a really great job of like differentiating like a complete 180 on who Violet was from Fourth Wing to who Violet was. Because I also like that she like starts to stand up for herself a little bit more too, and she's like, you know what, like I don't think she ever mentions that like how weak her body is in this book. She basically just talks about like how strong she is and how much she can do. Yeah, and I loved that.
I know the most she talks about is the irritation of her wraps slipping.
Yes,
she talks about that, but she never. I think also because she's gotten to a point that she's so comfortable with her own squad that they all know that's just Violet. Violet's gonna have these wraps on. She needs them. It's fine. Yeah. And so I think that acceptance has probably also made her just not think about it as much.
On the other side of acceptance, what did you think about her first interaction with Sloane?
Oh my God.
Up on that parapet.
Yes. I loved the dynamic. I mean, I loved how it was written, you know,
I enjoyed reading it.
The dynamic between them, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't have to like me, but you do have to listen to me.
Yes.
And respect me. And seeing how the rest of her squad kind of backs Violet up a little bit too. Yeah. And then Violet backs herself up right away when somebody challenges her. And she's like, yeah, I'm not going to take any shit, you know, who trained me. And so I did enjoy that. Yeah. It kind of made me mad how long it took Sloane to come around, but.
Right. And it was really only until she actually like heard it from Liam's point of view.
From the letters.
I freaking loved that Violet was like, you're not going to die. You better get your ass on that field and get to work because you suck. Yeah. And it was kind of funny reading it when she would like just get like pushed on the mat so hard. But Violet's like, this is not happening any longer. And she's like, every time you come to train, you'll get a letter from Liam. Oh, I thought that was so precious.
I did think it was sweet though that for as much as she couldn't tell all of her squad at first of all the other things that were going on, that she did let them know that she was poisoning Sloane's opponent that day.
Funny.
And so the fact that everybody else here, they were like, that's how you got through it last year. I can just totally see that like hair flip moment,
like,
you know?
She's like, yeah, this is how I did it. But she did. It was funny because she's like, no, she didn't fucking win. And they heard her say it to Sloane and they were like, and Imogen literally goes, that's how you did it last year? Like, oh my gosh. Which is so funny that I didn't even think, did Rhiannon even know that she was doing that?
No, I don't think she told anybody.
I don't think she did either. That is so funny. But I love that too, because it also shows just like her wit. Yeah. And her intelligence.
She's clever. Yeah, she's sneaky.
So clever.
Yeah, very sneaky. So.
Oh my gosh, I loved it.
And I think that was, even in that scene, for me, was a good moment of, one of the good moments of really seeing the change in Imogen and Violet's relationships too, because I think it's in that scene when Violet is like, Imogen, duck now. Yes. And like, and Imogen drops, she's like, oh yeah, go slow. And like starts, like all plays it off all casual, you know, so that Violet can like blow the dust onto them. And even just the fact that Imogen responded to her that immediately, even though Imogen's a year older and originally was really anti-Violet, obviously. Yes. So that, and the scene when it's just kind of like, fine, you can talk about your romantic life while we're walking to class, and that's it.
That's it. She's like, you get until we get to the door.
And so seeing their relationship build a little bit while she was having to be distanced from her other friends, that was really special to me too.
I think so too, because then she still had somebody, and I liked that a lot. I thought it was absolutely insane on the second read, the assassinations.
Yes, man.
Holy shit.
That was nuts. Did you also clock the red eyes during them?
Hell yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. From both the nameless first year and Jack Barlow.
Oh, there was, I think
There were more.
2. I was going to say, I think there was 2 because there was one assassination attempt where they killed somebody else.
That was the one in the sparring ring where they killed Nadine instead because she said she was Violet.
But then there's another one where they where remember Violet actually has to fight somebody. Do you remember this? And they're choking her.
Keep going. Yeah.
Give me a second to find this. Where it was in my notes. I think it was maybe in the Venom section. Yeah. So it's as she's fighting that guy, and he's like closing his hands on her windpipe, and he goes, "Secrets die with people who keep them." His eyes are light brown but rimmed in red, as though he's on some type of drug. So obviously, I think that he must be Venom too.
I think so too.
Is that the same guy? It is the same guy.
That's the first year, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I was thinking those were two different people.
Yeah. Like rimmed in red, as though he's on some kind of drug. She notices it right away.
Yeah. So that was, I definitely clocked. For some reason I was thinking those 2 different scenes. That is the same scene, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. So wild.
But the weird thing is, when she like goes up to the watchtower later on, and she goes to take over for, I don't even remember who she was taking over.
Yes.
And then she gets attacked, but then Jack like saves her. She notices his eyes are red too.
Oh, I didn't even catch that one in that scene. Why do you think it's just that he was being told to be nice to her? Why do you think he was acting nice? Because there was a couple other scenes before then where he kind of seems like he's being nice.
Being nice and like trying to like
genuinely nice?
Yeah. I don't know.
Right?
I really don't know. Unless like, I'm sure we'll talk about it more in like the second half, but like unless there's like levels and like clearly look who's trying to train them and shit. Like,
right. Yeah, I just thought that was really interesting because I'm wondering if he really was just faking it all of that time in the beginning of being nice, or if there's other stuff going on.
Yeah, you know? I wonder that too. Curious. I feel like there is an entire like, not government, but I feel like there's an entire backstory happening with our professors and the government. And
yes, we'll get there for sure.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so creepy.
Okay, let's see what else from early on.
Ooh, how about when Dayton challenges Violet on the mat?
Oh my gosh, that scene was intense.
That scene was so intense. And I have to say, I was like the number 1 Dayton hater. And I didn't really hate him after that part.
I know. Because I did feel bad because and even through all of this book, I think you start to feel a little more bad for the position that Dane was put in, right? He didn't know any better.
Right.
But yeah, that scene was tough. I felt so stressed for Violet too, because I know she was so frantic.
Frantic.
Like, don't touch me. I could ruin everything, you know.
I know. And then come to find out he didn't even know. And he was just doing what he was told.
He just said a little bit to his dad, like not realizing he was sharing anything critical.
Right. And then he didn't even know what had happened before that.
Oh, or like what was going to happen over War Games. Is that what you're trying to say? Yeah.
He had no idea.
Yeah. Oh, that was tough.
That was so sad. I definitely started to feel bad for him in this first half of the book.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I really wanted to continue to hate you.
I know.
But on that note, not talking about what happens at the very end of the book, but do you think in the next couple of books there's a possibility that Dane and Violet could get together again?
I think let's wait until the second half to talk about it.
Gotcha.
Because there's too many other things that feed into it.
I know. We talked about that during our Fourth Wing theories too.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Let's talk more about like earlier in the first half. So we talked about, is it RCS, RSC?
Oh my gosh, yeah, the writers.
I thought it was literally RCS, just have maybe. I don't remember.
I think it's RSC, the writers. Here, I'll find it.
Yeah, that thing, the class where it's a survival
writer's
one.
survival course. That's what it is.
The dynamic between infantry and riders.
Oh my gosh,
cracked me up. Did it not 100% give you Dauntless vibes from Divergent?
I haven't read it.
Have you ever seen Divergent?
Yeah, but it was like right when they came out, and I don't remember like anything from them.
Shelby!
I know. Well, it's funny because we talked about this last fall and I was like, I'm going to go watch them again. And then I just forgot.
Okay, well, for any of our listeners who have probably all read or watched Divergent. Oh my God.
I know.
But anyways, okay, well, when you read it, you'll understand that the writers give really Dauntless vibes, like 100%. Even the, changing their uniforms to make themselves all look a little bit unique and whatever.
Oh my God,
that's just cracking me up. But also just the dynamic of them being like, I guess you guys do know some things we don't, and vice versa. It was cool. I thought that was cool.
I thought so too. I really liked the dynamic between them and how funny it was that they were like, I'm right. No, I'm right. And then they had 2 different maps.
Yeah, that was so great.
Oh my gosh.
I was really surprised the first time when I read it. I was like, that is a great lesson.
Yes, it really is. Because how would you know unless you've actually compared?
It? Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so funny.
And when they're trying to back down, is it Bade or is it Solus that I think it's Bade, right? That Jack they run into too. Mm-hmm. And they kind of are jumping in front of the infantry and the healers and stuff to make sure that they're all okay. And I thought that whole scene was really cool too, just because it's the first moment that it kind of flips things back around to be like, oh yeah, the riders actually are badass and useful, even if they aren't good at land nav or feeding themselves or anything like that.
Yeah, I liked that too. And then after that, when the infantry caught all the food and then gave the riders their share of the food, I thought that was precious too.
Mm-hmm. And even when Jacinia later is talking with Violet about the report that whatever scribe had been out with them had written up on it, and they were kind of reflecting, she's like, yeah, I guess I hadn't even seen it from that perspective. It makes you realize what a third party documenting it can come across as.
Right. We were literally just talking about this on the last episode on different perspectives. And you have the riders and the infantry, and then you have the truth. And that's basically what the scribes are doing too, is they're supposed to be telling the truth, which is why it is so messed up that history is just being so rewritten.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back even further, because we got all excited and I love it. When they first got back from Basquiat, and it was their best, whatever, however you say that.
We'll just let this be the blanket apology for butchering all the names. I apologize.
Yes, we try. There are so many different pronunciations. We already know we're going to get hate for it.
Yeah.
So when they fly back to Basquiat, and it's the graduation day, and I feel like that's really the first test that we have from the mom, and she's like, oh, I believe her. Did you see that coming? Did you think she was gonna believe her? Did you think she was automatically gonna be like, let's get Dane over here?
I honestly thought she was gonna believe her.
You did? Okay.
Yeah,
I doubted.
Did you?
Yeah.
In the first book too, though, I still had this, I wasn't really sold that Mama Sorrengail was bad.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to be pretty morally gray, which I think ended up being pretty true in this book. And yeah, so I wasn't super surprised. I think that I believe that she actually believed the lie in that moment, but I don't know. I kind of also wonder if she knew what was up.
Right.
I don't know.
I know. I wonder that too, because she doesn't ask any questions. She doesn't ask any of the people who have that kind of power. She just.
But it shows you that she respects her daughter.
True.
And I think there are a lot of other moments where people act like we should question whether or not she respects her daughter. And I think that moment really shows her word is law. I'm going to take what she says at face value because she's a trustworthy person.
Yep.
Whether or not she should have,
I know, right? I know.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Violet did only tell the half-truths, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. But that's also where we learned that Father Athos is going to be gone.
Yep.
And somebody else comes in and takes his place. Mm-hmm. And that's Burton Varish. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever hated a character more.
Yeah, Varish is pretty gross.
Yeah. All around and the entire time. Mm-hmm. Ugh. Which his signet, we were just kind of talking about a little bit. You don't really know until the very end of that first part. But then after you said it, I was like, oh my God, there were clues. Mm. and I did not see it.
You know how many freaking clues there were for Xaden's? I mean, I had picked it up when I read it the first time that I was like, this feels weird how much they're bringing this kind of thing up. But I wasn't exactly sure how to take it until I was going back and reading this time. I was like, oh my God, she says like 5 times, even in just the first part.
Yes.
Oh, no, I know pretty damn well what his intentions are and stuff like that.
Yes.
Like, okay.
Literally says it so many times. Yeah. Or when Varys says, like, I can see your weaknesses, or I can see their weakness, or something along those lines multiple times. And I'm like, did not pick up on it at all. Literally until you said it just now. Did not remember that that's what it was.
Oh, yeah. Picks it up. So he says so many comments.
Yes.
He makes so many comments about, I just need to meet, because he just wants to meet Jesinia. And then he's like, oh, I'm a really good read of people. I just need to meet her. I just need to know. Because he can read her intentions. So we can know if she's going to, after Violet has told her what's going on, you know, or a little bit more.
Oh, and, I meant Varys. I was talking about Varys.
Oh, about the, about him knowing people's fears?
Yes. Yep. Their fears and their weaknesses. Because I like literally did not remember it at all. At all. But now that you bring it up, Xaden really did ask to just meet her. And I didn't pick up on that part either. Holy cow. Wow. Yeah. Or Dane. He wanted to meet with Dane too.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Because he was like, no, like, he's like, as soon as I see him, I'll know exactly what he feels. Did not pick up on that. So because there was so much information going on in Iron Flame here, we are going to make the first half of the book 2 parts. And so this first episode is just going to be on part 1.
Yep. And come back next week. It'll be the second half of part 1 of Iron Flame. So see you next week.
See you next week.